The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I represent Bahamian people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan, bro. Right between West and Augusta, where them two roads meet, they call it Wilkinson Street. Manners and respect was like a sign blank check. It seems the ones that coming after quick to disrespect. You see, this life in the ghetto never easy. So many hungry days break till it grieve me. But I doing the best I can, trying to turn my dollar to 100 grand. I represent the ghetto people. I from Nassau, Bahamas.
Good night, Bahamas. It's a little wet, so please drive with due care and caution. My producer tonight is April. She's sitting in tonight. She always does a wonderful job. She was here from the inception, along with my good friend Raleigh. He's in the studio also, checking up on her. I want to say a very special good night to each and every one of you. Telephone numbers tonight on Guardian Radio, 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, and you can text us, powered by BTC at 422-GR96, and also you can listen in on 969 Cable Bahamas. You can listen in live to the conversation. Again, I'm your host, Valentino Brown, host of the talk show Inside the Inner City. Premieres every Friday at 6:30 to 8 p.m., except holidays. Today we're going to have a topic, discussing many topics. We're going to talk about a call for action to fight sex crime. I would like to give my 2 cents on that. I'd also like to see and have a conversation on, in society, is it a red tape where government employees, politicians, police officers, defense officers, immigration officers, and etc., who sign contracts with the Bahamas government? You know, we sometimes look at the ordinary citizens who live on the streets, and we see matters that, you know, are criminal, where the law would go to the full extent to go and persecute persons who are accused of crimes in the country. There's no hesitation on arresting those individuals in the inner city and the Bahamas at large. And we as a society have been saying for a little while, it seems to be, how should I put it? It's more like it's a brotherhood in the Royal Bahamas Police Force. It's a brotherhood in Parliament. It's a brotherhood in the Defense Force. And this whole system is designed to protect. I don't think it was intended to be that way, but it's got so corrupted that it's evident now where we are seeing matters that people are asking questions and questioning the Minister of National Security. Just recently, I can't play eyewitness news because I'm on Guardian, but I only could comment on what was said. And I think it was Gerald Hicks. He was asking a question to the Minister of National Security concerning matters of officers on the Royal Bahamas Police Force. He's talking about sitting parliamentarians being questioned for sexual assault charges, and it's been delayed. Also, like I said, police officers, you know, are being accused of crimes, but, you know, it's been a little slow investigation. But when it comes to us as citizens who live in inner city communities and live in Nassau at large, the taxpayers, you know, when we accuse of rape, you know, if the police don't fully do the investigation, they come in full force. And sometimes they don't ask no question unless these police are properly trained, are proper investigators, where they look at the complaints from both sides and see if it add up, then they would decide if the rape was committed. But it doesn't really work like that, unless the officers again are trained. Immediately when a attempted murder charge is brought against somebody, a murder charge or a rape charge or armed robbery charge or assault charge or anything that's taken to the station, police comes immediately and they follow up on these matters and try to put it before the court as quickly as possible. But we're seeing numerous incidents where we see, police in an interview statements that stand by on MP rape case. We have been waiting for a little while to see what is going to take place with this particular matter. But Craig Cornish, Minister of Abaco, and I'm not saying he committed a crime. Okay, I'm not saying he should be charged for this offense. What I'm saying, this was brought to the public attention by someone who made a complaint, who was in relationship with a particular individual. So she took the matter to the police, and then she took it to the media. And like I said, I'm not saying that he committed a crime. Sometimes people could be vengeful, have an argument, and they want to destroy your character. It could be this in this case too. She could probably be saying, yeah, you was an MP, and yeah, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to tarnish her and cause her career. I could understand that. So I could understand why there's hesitation probably in the police part to investigate fully, because he could be saying this on his end. So it's a very tricky situation, but still, it questions the timing, This matter should have been wrapped up from over 2 months ago. It shouldn't be lingering on this long, where we got the public, waiting to see what's going to happen. Like I said, this man could be innocent. We have people who lie on people because of anger. So we also have to take that into account. I want to just remind everyone that, last week I made a comment when I made a comment about the Prime Minister. Week before last, on a particular show, where I said I believe that in matters concerning an MPs, the police commissioner, Mr. Clayton Fernando, who is an extraordinary, very professional police officer, I feel that he has no jurisdiction in his power to go and arrest Mr. Cornish, even though he's been questioned and being released. I understand all that. But to say as far as him being able to use his position as the commissioner of police to put Mr. Cornish, before the court, I don't think he has that power. I think he has to refer the matter to his boss, which is the Minister of National Security, and the Minister of National Security boss is the Prime Minister. And I know from growing up and being involved with politicians, I've been there from the inception. I've been there with Sir Lyndon, I've been there with Perry Christie, I've been there with Hubert Ingram, and I've had many meetings sitting on, having conversation with different ministers over the years, and I know how government runs. So ain't much you could tell me when it comes down to these things that we don't see behind closed door. What we might think is not happening is actually happening. But it would never come to reality unless you use your imagination and bring it to tuition, and that's what I do. Yeah, so I was stating that only could be the Prime Minister who could put Mr. Cornish before the court. And if you listen to Mr. Cornish make some comments a few weeks ago, he stated, that, and he read and took it back and apologized to the Prime Minister, where he stated that in Abaco, he is the Prime Minister, Brave is the Prime Minister of the government of the Bahamas, but he is the Prime Minister. And he was making reference that he understands his position, but he still is a part of the party, and if he did not retract what he said, he would not be recommended to run for North Abaco ever again, just by those comments, because as Prime Minister and leader of the party, he has the right to nominate him as the member of Parliament for that constituency. It's up to the Prime Minister. Yes, you may be the MP, but you want on the Prime Minister's ticket. And like I said, each MP in that particular community is like a Prime Minister. You see, it's just like governors in the States. If you watch how the governor of Miami challenged Donald Trump, you know, he was challenging Donald Trump straight through because he's the governor and he understands the power he has. Yes, Donald Trump is was the president of the United States of America, but the minister of Florida, he imposed his own restrictions and laws concerning the COVID-19, and like the masks and restrictions and what people can do. He defied a lot of others because he understands that he's the elected governor, of that state. So it's no difference than a sitting MP in each constituency, but the prime minister has the overall power. Yeah, you got to have your hard move now, but if you don't retract what you said, you're not going to be nominated to be able to run for that seat ever again, or probably no seat, unless you try to go independent, and then that's the end of your career. Okay? And he took it back and he apologized. And let me explain to you what I was saying when I said only the prime minister can put a member of parliament before the court, because I always stated that if you look at the Second Amendment, that the contracts that the prime minister, that ministers of government sign, it's a contract that they sign with Britain. They sign with the Commonwealth of Bahamas, but they sign to Britain, under the 1973 Act, which is nearing an end. So our 50-year contract is ending. The next prime minister of the Commonwealth of Bahamas, has a lot of power. He's going to come up with some good strategies, because that 50-year contract, I think, ends this year. So the next prime minister of the Commonwealth of Bahamas is going to be a very, very powerful man. He has to be very creative because, like I said, that contract is up. So yes, so I was reading, and we were wondering if people are protected, and the laws for us as citizens, taxpayers, and the law is different for senators, politicians, in some cases pastors, police officers, defense force officers. But we are seeing now where they're getting put before the court because of the activism that the citizens of this country is fighting. Neil Burrows, myself, many others, they're fighting. We're putting it out there that we know what's going on. And gradually it's making change. Gradually it's making change. And I just want you to listen. And I know what I be saying is be true. Now listen. The law is set up different for us as citizens. Because listen to this. Okay. Many fail to file disclosures. Okay? Senators and public servants among those who have not complied. Public Disclosure Commission Chairman Bishop Victor Cooper said many senators and senior citizens and senior civil servants fail to disclose their assets, income, and liabilities this year as the law requires. That's our concern, he said. A number of them have not, to this day, have not disclosed their income. So I don't know the reason. We send out all of the documents on time and remind us so that where the delinquencies lie amongst the senior government officials, he could not say for certain whether any elected official failed to follow the law. He said he has finally, let me go to page 2. He has finally sent a letter to the Prime Minister, Philip Brave Davis, and opposition leader, Michael Pentard, with names of people who did not comply with the law. Only the listen people, and I tell you, I know what they be saying. Listen, only the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas or leader of the opposition could table the list in Parliament or forward it to the office of Attorney General for potential prosecution. Bishop Cooper said in June that he would notify Prime Minister Brave Davis and opposition leader Mr. Pintard of the delinquencies. However, yesterday he said he did not know. He said, hold on, let me get it right. He said he did not do so until recently. Now I don't know why he didn't do so recently when this was your job. So it looked like the opposition leader, the Prime Minister, and what's this guy name? Bishop Cooper. You know, seems like all of you guys are trying to protect the system, protect your colleagues. Okay? Listen now. Last year, some first-time MPs said they were unaware. Listen now. Listen. That's why I tell all people, read. Last year, I can't see too good. All right. Some first-time MPs said they were unaware that there was a legal requirement to file financial disclosures under the Public Disclosure Act. And yesterday, about the level of compliance this year compared to 2022, Bishop Cooper said it has been, better this year. The Bahamas does not have a robust system surrounding public disclosures in its annual human rights report. The United States has reportedly noted that no independent verification of the information public officials submit exists. Bishop Cooper said the commission wants to modernize the public disclosure filing process. So, like I tell you all people, you hear it with your own mouth, okay? And it's not Brave Davis' fault, the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It's not the opposition, Michael Pintard's fault. It's something that built up over the course of the years, and it's called corruption that has been passed on through both parties and now is affecting us as a society because we could see through the smoke screen in the country, and we could see that a lot of them get away. Now, if you were a sitting senator, a sitting member of parliament, how could you not know that it's against the laws to not publicly disclose your finance? You don't know. So what the party is doing, I thought these guys are trained professionals. I thought they have the best lawyers, the best information, the best team. So why would you think they don't want to release their financial, whatever you calling it? Huh? And from both sides, you had an opposition leader and you had the Prime Minister, Mr. Cooper, is stating. And they have yet to act because both of them have to protect the system. That's just the way it is. You listen to anyone talking about they get in power, they could do this and do that. No, it don't work like that. You all stop falling for that. You could say one thing when you're in opposition, but when you get in government, it's a whole different ball game. You understand? The Prime Ministers have to get instructions from the Permanent Secretary in each government department. The Prime Minister has all Permanent Secretary in all government departments. The Ministry of Education, the Ministry of National Security, they brief him. The Prime Minister gets a briefing every Thursday from the Commissioner of Police on what's going on in the country. Okay? If the Commissioner of Police is an independent public servant, then why every Thursday he has to go report to, I think, the Minister of National Security or the Prime Minister? Each Commissioner of Police over the last 30 years have been appointed by their respective party, whether you're PLP or you're FNet. No one got there by their merit. Some of the most qualified police officers who are supposed to be Commissioner of Police are not Commissioner of Police now. It's because of party politics, and they were denied their promotion. And that's what's being done in our country. Same thing as the Governor General. serve a 4 or 5 year term, comes in under one government. If that government loses the election, the next government comes in, and in 2 years, that governor general will resign, and they'd replace it with their governor general. And the same thing would happen to the commissioner. And what it does, it increases us paying taxes and paying the bills to various different commissioner beliefs, the various different persons who get appointed these positions by their political party, and it causes us. Look how many different commissioners and Commodore of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force we have had in the last 30 years. So that's where all our money going. We're different. And I'm reading it to prove to you that when it comes to injustice, we are citizens. We are different. And there's a system protecting government officials. And I'm seeing now where they're gradually changing it, because in the last few weeks I've been reading the newspaper. I just see here where I want to compliment also the Royal Bahamas Police Force for starting to understand that the public watches, listens, and know that injustice has been going on a very long time in the country. I don't wish for this inspector who is now before the court for, let me read it. I can get a reach up. Okay, I got to read it. Yeah, I want to read it. I'm not against nobody going before the court for no crime at all. But if you commit the crime, all right, and you're wrong, all right, you could have made a mistake. So we take the mistake into account, add the evidence up, but you cannot hide the position because the person is the police or the MP that you don't want to shame them, you don't want to charge them, you don't want to mess with their reputation, but yet still you charge hundreds of young guys and females, and you hurl them before the courts, and the court shows them no mercy, right? And it's wrong. And I'm not saying that this inspector who was charged before the court, that I'm saying he's a bad person. No, I'm just saying that you could be a police officer, but you can't keep on covering stuff up. And these officers are wrong. It doesn't go for all officers. If we want a better country, okay, we have to show others in the country that we fair. And this is a Christian nation. And we have Christian values and Christian morals. And that means if somebody is wrong, okay, we have mercy on them. But we persecute them as well, regardless of their position in society. Because these kind of stuff that police officers and politicians and pastors being getting away, you know, and the general public knows it. You know, it affects us because we know we're not getting no justice. So, let me read. Police officer charged with vehicular manslaughter. A police officer was charged with causing the death of a 26-year-old woman in an alleged drunk driving incident last December near the Andre Rogers Baseball Stadium. His name is Inspector Delton Knowles. Now I'm saying this again. I'm not against this inspector. You know, he was drunk. If it is, excuse me. It is assumed that he's drunk and he is not guilty of a crime. But I'm just reading what is in the newspaper, and he was charged. So I compliment the Royal Bahamas Police Force for investigating the matter properly and then charging this officer, fellow officer. And this is an inspector. So this is a step in the right direction. Okay? We have to take these matters seriously, because this could have been a cover-up. You know? They've been protecting one another for many, many years. Okay? But the public is outraged and we want to just see justice. And like I said, I don't want to see this fine officer, you know? I don't know his personality. I don't know him as an individual. I don't know if he's guilty. But it says here that He was a alleged drunk driving incident last year, and he was charged. And they say Knowles was alleged driving under the influence of alcohol, heading south onto Yellow at around 8:40 a.m. on December 17, 2022, when he lost control of his vehicle. Okay? If this is the case, he made a mistake. But I like how the police officers investigate and found out these circumstances. Now he's before the court. And like I say, I don't want to see nothing bad happen to the officer. But we have to be able to have internal affairs in these organizations just to be on the box of officers who think they could go rogue and break the law. You understand? And get away with it. We need the same thing in Parliament. We need the same thing in immigration. We need the same thing in all government departments where we have a group of people. They're part of government. They're part of the police force. But their job is to find officers who violate the code of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. In these type of instances, when matters are reported, the investigation team, they're in charge. They go investigate, and they have the power to arrest and question Royal Bahamas Police Force officers or Royal Bahamas Defense Force officers. Each department has their internal investigation team, and they're trained solely, not a part of the political party. They're not a maternity of the Defense Force. They're not a maternity of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. They're a part of it, and their job is to bring equality and fairness so that we can gain the trust of the politicians, gain the trust of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, gain the trust of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, gain the trust of the Immigration Department in this country. And like I say, I'm not attacking the system. I'm just saying that we have to have checks and balances in place so that we have people having so much corruption that a blind man can see it. And right now in the country, a blind man can see what's happening in our country. Okay? And then, what else I was going to say now? And then we go again to, let me read something here. Over the last 2 weeks, I think, Minister Keith Bell, he went to a funeral and he gave out some documents on the country. I mean, I don't know if it's the country, but I think it was the opposition that made a big scene out of it, which probably is. Then the media and now the general public. And many people are asking for the resignation of Minister Keith Bell. Listening to many of the radio shows and listening to if any laws is broken, they said no laws was broken. I know it seems that, he did something wrong, and maybe he did, because I think we don't understand this in the country, The government knows that if you want to be re-elected, you have to have all Bahamians on board. And we have Bahamians who have Haitian nationality here, and there's a lot of them who are registered, and a lot of them who voted in the last general election, and they know if they want to show a good face and they want to repeat as the government, they have to do some things, It might seem illegal, it could be illegal, but they have to please that community. Because if you listen to the last, before the hurricane, this Bahamian of Haitian nationality was in Abaco. And he stated, that's when Menace went and Menace kicked down the door in Abaco. And he said he wanted these shanty townhouses broken down. And then Bahamian who has Haitian nationality, he came on TV and he said, you know what, we're not voting for the F&M, we're voting for the PLP. And we're voting for Brave Davis. Now, Brave was opposition leader. And what you think happened? Okay? So, the plea is, and then you need to look at the numbers of people of Bahamian who have Haitian nationality. When we go to the registry's office, you would see the names, and you would see it's a very good amount. It could be anywhere from 50 to 60,000 persons like that who are registered in this country. And both government knows this. Both government knows this. I remember when on the news we saw the then Prime Minister and then Minister, I got his name in my head now, a good friend. Oh, shoot. Campbell, Frankie Campbell was in church. They gave a statement and the Prime Minister gave a statement. You understand? So they know the numbers and they have to get these people on their side. They have to place these people, and some of these documents, were not properly maintained. There was some backdoors to them. Some were legal, some were illegal, but they have them. Their children have them. They have a right to vote in the country, and our government knows that. So the police, the pops now, Mr. Bell is going to be doing a lot of that. And any minister who gets in power, who is the Minister of Immigration or the government, knows that they have to please Bahamians with Haitian nationality who has the right to vote and the right to register to vote in the country. So for us as Bahamians, like I say, open your eyes, start to work on yourself, start to advocate, for what's right in the country. You can't keep your mouth closed. Even if you have to go against your party, you're going to have to do that. You understand? What you see wrong going on in the country, you have to speak on it, because if you don't, it's going to hurt you in the long run. All right? So he says Bell does not need to resign. See, the thing is, right, if he felt he did something wrong, do you think he would resign? No. Because again, only one person can make him resign again. And that is the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, okay? The public perception does not count. Here's why it does not count when it comes to investigation, when it comes to persecution. I mean, it does come there. It does give some type of account, but it don't really go, how I should say, full investigation. All right, let me see what I was going to remember to say now. All right. I was talking to them. All right. Let me see what I'm trying to remember. Yeah. But anyway, skip that and let me go to something else. Yeah. So we're saying a call for action to fight sex crime. The Crisis Center decries rise in rape reports. Okay? So we're always going backwards. This is the end part of the problem. A call for action to fight sex crime. This is the last action. Listen why. We just had a report that over how much children were abused this year alone. And then there's a report stating yearly on how many child is being abused in the country. And we're talking from anywhere from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Sexually abused, mistreated by family members, sexually assaulted by family members, sexually assaulted by friends in the country. And the statistic shows you that children who are mostly abused are turning out to be abusers themselves. And that will lead to sex crimes in the country, because they were children, they got abused, they were taught it, they were not taught the right way, They don't have no morals. So they pass it on. They apply it to themselves. They pass it on to someone else, and it keeps on going on, going on, going on, going on. So we are asking ourselves, because we have a lot of sexual assault cases in the country. We have a lot of sexual assault cases in the prison. We have a lot of sexual assault cases on the streets, before the courts. And we continue to have sexual assault cases because we're not, we're just going in circles. Because like I'm saying, the abuse report from the Ministry of Social Service shows you where the problem is. So now we're at the end part now, we're saying now a call for action to fight sex crime. It's impossible for us to fight sex crime when we can't get to the abusive kids at a young age. Those abusive kids are going to be the same kids 10, 15 years from now who, for some reason, will be involved in crimes dealing with sexual violence in the country. So if we're not banning the tree, we can't talk a call for action. You could put all the laws on the books right now and stiffen the penalty. It's not going to change nothing. Because there's a next generation ahead who is done getting physically abused, done getting molested, and they done twisted. So all this call for action and fighting sex crime. If you want to fight sex crime, build a family structure again. Invest in the homes. Invest in the communities. Okay? Stop the kids from being abused at a young age. Okay? And it starts in the community. And the only way we're going to do that, which is going to be very, very difficult, is to get the family structure back strong in this country. All this a call for action to fight sex crime is a waste of time. You could put all the boards together in this country and all the beliefs, you could give them all the rights, and you could say, we give someone 50 or 100 years if they violate or rape a woman or get them lifetime. It still is not going to stop nothing because the people themselves are twisted. You understand? They're twisted. They're already being trained in that environment. So we think by increasing the penalty, it's going to change their mindset? No. They done hard. They don't have demons inside them. They have less God inside them. They have less kindness inside them. They have less love inside them. Because they were not shown love. Because they were abused at an early age. The country keep on going backwards. A call for action. I'm going to read the rape report. I know Ms. Patterson, she's doing a wonderful job. And I tell you, I can't see too good, but I can try my best. Decrying the significant increase in rape cases, primarily on New Providence this year, the Bahamas Crisis Center applied to policymakers to do what is needed to ensure that accountability of sex offenders. The call came after recent sex crimes were reported, including 2 separate cases of sexual assault of elderly women. I'm told against these incidents. But if you check these persons, I think it was a 50-year-old man who was involved in this. These guys done be in the prison, And if you look at him, he's 50. If you check his background, you would see where he was abused 50 years ago. You understand? So we have to invest in the community, invest in family life, teaching about the family, teaching about morals. For me, we need to incorporate with the Japanese teaching their children. Go look at the Japanese. They're teaching the young kids to see if someone walk them in a cane and they're in a bus, right? And the kids them sitting down. And these the kids. And they'd have one of the kids acting like an old person walking in a cane. And then a young boy would be sitting down there. And he would get out of the seat and he would walk the little kid, even though the kid acting as an old person. and they walk him to his chair. He'd stand up and let the kid, let the old person, the kid who walking as the old person sit down. And then if a little girl coming walking on the bus, the little boy would get up, and let her sit down, The Japanese right now are teaching their kids all of the small things so that they wouldn't become abusive kids. Teaching them about morals early, teaching them to respect their elders, for them to respect one another. Y'all go online, look at it. This is what they do in the schools. All the girls is wear all white panties. All the girls wearing this white panties. All right? And none, their panties never dirty because they teaching them about decency. And we need to start teaching that in our community, in our houses, and in our schools. You understand? Japan, good luck. Look what they're teaching the kids. This is part of their schooling. They're in school and they're taking time out and they're doing these little skits. They teaching them how to be a man, to be a woman. And we have lost that in this country because of corruption. So I'd like for you all, go online and just look what Japan is doing to teach the younger generation. Some things you can follow and learn from. And they're doing an extremely great job of preparing the next generation for family life. Yeah, the family structure needs to be implemented again, Okay. Yeah, and I also don't want to comment. That's what I don't want to comment on. Yeah, I remember now. Earlier, I was talking about when the Minister of National Security, Honorable B.N. Monroe, like I said, Jari was asking him a few questions concerning matters of importance when it comes to officials of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, officers being and defense force officers regularly going before the courts and the sitting MP. And, he was asking, so you don't think this getting a little out of hand? And the Minister of National Security, he's the Minister of National Security. He has to protect government. Listen, this is how it go, okay? When you're part of government, you have to go with government. So it's not being Monroe's fault. It's a system. He has to abide by the system. He signs a contract. He is under contract. Listen to me. Van Monroe, the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Brave Davis, signs a contract. Just as well as all sitting MPs, all sitting senators, all police officers, they sign a contract. Okay? Brave Davis, the Honorable Brave Davis, cannot be the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas unless he swears and he signs his name on the dotted line to serve King Charles. Okay? Secondly, he swears to uphold secrets and anything that is confidential in Parliament, secret. That means the Commissioner of Police, Parliament can be doing all kinds of things wrong, eh? But they have to keep it a secret. And thirdly, they swear to the Bahamian people, to serve the Bahamian people, okay? They sign a contract, people. You know what a contract is? What a contract is. When you sign that, I could work for somebody, and I say $150, and I sign my John Henry on that, and they sign the John Henry on that. If I go to court, I win my case. As long as I fulfill my contract, I could go to court and say, he's supposed to pay me on Friday. Once I finish the yard, he's supposed to give me $150. Once the yard is fixed, all the garbage is removed. I did that. Friday come, he did not pay me, and he don't want to pay me. You go to court, they'll tell you, pay down minus $150, and he might have to give me extra. That's what the contract. You cannot breach contract. And who he signed the contract with? Huh? He signs it of the independence, that 1973, all that's about with people. You're under contract, 50-year contract, and it's coming to end this year. Yeah. So yeah, he was just saying that, and Jardek was asking that, and he defended, and he said, the public perception doesn't mean a thing. He is talking about when it comes to allegation on the public scrutiny, it steps to that. So what he is saying is that, regardless of what the public's saying, it doesn't work what the public's saying. What he's saying is a procedure, is an investigation, has to go on, and sometimes it takes time. But the reporter was not asking that. The reporter was asking an increase of officers, defense officers, parliamentary getting questioned for rape, and it's a slow delay. When citizens out here, a couple of people that get charged for rape. I think at least 10 or 15 people that get charged with rape in between the Cornish investigation, MP Cornish investigation in Abaco. Probably 120. You understand? But yet still, like I say, Lisa is a delicate situation. He's protected. He's protected. Me and you ain't protected. You understand? So it's different. So, it's different. It's different. So, yeah, the Minister of National Security, he defended the system. And he has to defend the system because he signed a contract. That's just the way it is. And don't mind the opposition leader. The opposition has power too, because you all listen. It got presented to him too. And like I say, I'm not knocking nobody. I'm just telling you the facts and how the system runs. And the opposition leader, he is not going to expose those senators and those MPs, because between him and the Prime Minister, one is the king official opposition, which is a lot of power. He gets a chauffeur. He gets armed guard. You understand? He gets incentive. He just like the Prime Minister, he gets special treatment, and between him and the Prime Minister, them two sign a lot of contracts together. The opposition leader signed things with the government, A lot of these hotel agreements and etc. The opposition leader signed right with the Prime Minister in some of these matters, but he never officially say these things. You understand? That's just how it works. He has the right to take the names, table it in Parliament, and make recommendation for these people, these senators and politicians who have yet to disclose, when they know it's up to a year. And they think it's a $10,000 fine for not disclosing. And they're breaking the law. And now they're coming up with an excuse that the first time MPs don't know that they're breaking the law. And the opposition leader, he can make and present this to Parliament and then send the matter to the Commission of Police. But it does not work like that, people. Because in certain incidents, the opposition leader and the Prime Minister are cahoots together. Now, there might be different parties, but certain things they have to agree on. And that's just the way it is. All right? So, yeah. So, yeah, and the minister, I wish I could have played eyewitness flick, but, I'm going Guardian, so it would have been better, because you would have get a really, really good understanding where I'm coming from with it. So I hope you still get some type of understanding. I'm trying to speak to you now and sharing you that there is injustice goes on in our country. It's gradually changing. And like I said, I commend the Royal Bahamas Police Force, for investigating the incidents where, a life was lost and senior officer was put before the court. It's an inspector to get put before the court. You know how hard it is to do that? You know how hard it is to put an inspector on the Royal Bahamas Police Force before the court. You know what it takes? It takes the signature. To get fired. I think inspector on the Royal Bahamas Police Force when he could get fired from the opposition leader and on the advice of the Prime Minister, and I think those two signed to get a sitting inspector of the force. We don't hardly have inspectors charged with serious offenses in the country. But if you notice over the course of the last few years, we are seeing inspectors now getting caught up in illegal activities. It's not been proven, but we have seen on the nose where police officers themselves, with FBI agents, apprehend them. And we have witnesses guys who are locked up with the drugs, saying that, officers had a part to do with it too. So that's why I'm always saying we need an internal investigation team on the Royal Bahamas Police Force to bring stability, so to let officers know that if I abuse my position as a Royal Bahamas Police Force, I too could be investigated, and if I don't watch out, I'll be before the courts. And that's all we want as a society, as Bahamian people. That's all we want. We applaud the Royal Bahamas Police Force because we need them. We need them. But the corruption is too much. We just had a defense force officer told an illegal handgun and shot an innocent person. He got charged. He's on bail. Now we have an inspector, charged with vehicular manslaughter. He's charged and he's before the court. Before that, we had a defense force officer who wrote false check to Bank of Bahamas on Bay Street. And he was later arrested in the Bank of the Bahamas trying to cash a next check for at least over $60,000 to $70,000. He'd already cashed a check for over $100 and some $1,000. But he got so greedy, he came back to BOB, and him and the next gentleman was locked up in the bank with a firearm, getting ready to cash the check again. We have had a defense force officer who was charged with killing a fellow defense force officer at Government House. You remember that? And he was acquitted. So the question needs to be asked, who killed this defense force officer at Government House? There has not been an investigation concerning that matter. I guess that once investigation is done, it's put before the court. And if the person is not found not guilty or guilty, either way, that's the end of the case. But tell me something. The defense officer was acquitted for the murder, but the defense officer still was killed on the grounds of Government House. So is the investigation done? If someone was cleared of this incident, why is there no further investigation to try to find out who did kill this defense force officer on government ground? You understand? Then my good friend Zach, he was killed by a dirty cop. Zach was one of the best cops I ever knew. And he got killed on the line of duty from an ex-police officer, who was doing a legal activity. And the same officer killed Zach. And he shot Zach in the back of his head. But Zach, through God was strong and God still had a purpose for him. He was able to regain his conscience and still save the life of a fellow officer and save the life of a fellow citizen who the crooked cop was getting ready to kill three of them in this patrol car. So you telling me now, after all these incidents that I've talked to the general public about, I'm not against no police officers. Okay? I was a criminal myself. And I changed around my life to be a law-abiding citizen in this country today. And I don't break no law. You understand? I abide by the red light. I don't know illegal firearm. I ain't robbing nobody. You understand? So I am a law-abiding citizen. I pay my taxes, my national insurance. So my life changed. You understand? But we have these things occurring where we have officials being protected and then the citizen being persecuted. And we are seeing these things. We want justice. And we are not against, listen to me, Ben, we are not against the police force. Firstly, let me just say this. I admire many of the officers on the force because I know the tasks that they do. Some of them are so reasonable. Nicest set of people. You know? But then when you look at the inner city community, you know, they be over-aggressive in these communities. And that's not called for. It makes matters worse in our country now. You know? It makes the police like they're alien. We are all the same here. You know, living in this country. You know? The citizen shouldn't be against the police and the police shouldn't be against the citizen. The only time the citizen should be against the police is when there is an uproar and we see injustice. You understand? We're supposed to be family. And if we out here hurting one another, doing things to one another, the corruption is going to continue. The animosity is going to continue, and we're not going to get better. This is spiritual, and we only destroying the bombers. Like all those things I talked about, of those different offenses for the officers. You don't think we need a private entity in the Royal Bahamas Police Force there? Just in the back of my mind, if I'm a corrupt cop, and I know that this investigation team ain't have no time to play, it's going to make me straighten up. It's going to make me less corrupt. But when I know that me and my boys could get away with anything once we call one another, okay, we're going to cover it up. Even though you know the person was wrong and this could have been an innocent person, they kill an innocent person. And you're going to cover it up because we're boys and this is fraternity. You know? Let me give you a prime example. And again, I only speak it from my heart. When I look at the video with a young man on close to Carmichael Road, where he shot, I think 35, 40 times. And they said he had a gun in the car. Okay? So you get with 6 or 7 police officers. I don't know how many police officers. I set up the club. I don't know if it's an argument. But in my mind, a young man like that would have been completely stupid. Because a guy like me, who was a bad boy, I was a bad boy, and I took guns, all right? I would never go to a place where I know there are police officers and armed police officers and inspectors at that. For me to go there and have a row with a police officer, because I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. People intoxicated, officers having a good time. You'll be a fool to go there, okay? And to have an argument with an officer unless you're looking at dead. Okay, you got to be the stupidest person in the world. You would avoid that spot at all costs unless you want to just go in there and drink and have a good time. So that's why I'm obvious about it. And I'm not saying these officers are guilty, you know, of any crime because it's still before investigation. But looking at the video and him being shot 30, 40 times, and then they're saying that he had a gun. But he was shot 30, 40 times. Disfigured. He is a behemoth. If he went had a gun in the car with 7 trained officers, inspectors, and sergeants who are trained, and they spread out in front of the car, they could easily apprehend a young man. He didn't have to die. Even if he had a gun, he didn't have to die. Because looking at the video, they had him. They just around in the car. His one gun didn't stand no chance. Even if he just raised that, they would have point gun around the car, and he wouldn't have been stupid enough to even point that gun. So that's why I look so fishy. And then when you look at it, they carry they go and they carry the recording, and the family had just had to get it back. And then when you're watching the video, and then they shoot the guy, must see 30-something times, change clip. And then you watch their action like, it didn't even matter. You know? Like it just, like the guy life just didn't matter. I know what he did. He probably could have been wrong with them or whatever the situation, but you think at the point where you take a next behemoth life, when you could apprehend him, when he didn't even have to fire a shot. You know? And then you hurt that family because he has people who have loved ones. All of us have someone who have loved ones. And seeing the video, you know, and then seeing officers, and they protecting one another. I'm not saying they're guilty. The video, look at the video. Listen to the people's family. In this case, the officers could have been wrong. They could have been drunk. But it's a long procedure, and that's what the Jared Hicks was asking the Minister of National Security. But he defended it because he has to defend his officers. He can't say nothing against his officers, even though, in this case, they could be wrong. But what he is doing is that, yes, sir, you might win the election, but guess what you're doing? Spiritually, you're destroying a lot of people's lives because you're going to allow corruption to continue. And someday down the line is going to be your child or someone else's child suffer the same consequences and fate of that young man and many others. So I'm speaking about the injustice. You understand? You're the Minister of National Security. You're supposed to be on the people's side. You understand? But you're on your party side. And you're on the government side. And I don't blame you, and I don't want the public to blame you. You understand? Because you signed a contract and you take that oath. And when you take that oath, you push God aside. You push Yahweh aside. Yahshua aside, Christ aside, and God aside. Now your God is the King of England. You understand? And a man cannot serve two masters. You get when the Caesar was doing the Caesars, but you can't serve two masters. Look at the story of Joseph. Joseph served the Pharaoh, but he never bowed. He served Pharaoh, but he never bowed to his God. He stayed loyal. You understand? But when you swear, if you was a Christian or you was a believer, and you take that oath, you know what's the most dangerous thing in the world, people? The tongue. It's the most dangerous thing in the world. And when you give an oath, see, people don't know this, you know. Read the book about oath. And when they swear, so we don't know why they become corrupt. They become corrupt because when they swear, they give up on God, they give up on Jesus, they give up on Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, they give up on all the prophets. You understand? But our oath. So that's why we have a lot of corruption. And we just hope that even though they take this oath, some of them regain their identity again and understand that they have the power to make change in the country, even though you take that oath. But they told you, the Bible told you can't serve two masters. But you'll never hear no one talk to you about these things because they study these things. Can't serve two masters. It's not intentional enough. But the person who came up with this understand that if I could get them to break their allegiance with their creator, I have them in my pocket. Perfectly designed system. Perfectly designed. Now, if anyone want to call in, the numbers are there. You can call in. I know it's been a very interesting show. And I know I'm talking a lot of sense to each and every one of you out there because I'm not seeing the phone line lit up. I'm telling you these things because I have insight. You know, I asked God for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I could see the deficiency in our country, and I'm providing solution to our country's problem. And I could see the invisible and bring it to the general public for you to listen. You understand? So a lot of people is looking, yeah, you know, so kudos to the Royal Bahamas Police Force. And I want y'all to keep up with investigating your officers. You know, if the officers are wrong, hey, you have to charge them and put them before the court. You could deal with the leniency part because y'all have protocol, y'all have your specific system that y'all work with to deal with officers that are before the court. You know, they're treated differently than a citizen because they're a civil servant, they sign a contract. And that's why I say when they sign contract, this protects them because they're still under government contract. Okay? So, and let me give you a next prime example. Okay? Cop says probe. Oh, another one. All right, another one. All right. Let me see what it said. Cop says probe to report against missing them. Okay. Clayton Fernandez says police will very shortly wrap up their investigation into allegation made against North Abaco MP Craig Cornish. Fernandez said he received recommendation regarding the investigation from the acting director of public prosecution. Now, y'all hear that? Y'all listening closely? This is Commissioner Blease now, and he's supposed to be the one to do the to put the MP before the court, but no, it's before the DDP, which he is currently being reviewed, you know. Asked what the recommendation are, he said, I will say, but not at this time. So you understand it? He don't have no power. Okay, the DDP doesn't have no power. Everything comes from the Prime Minister, the Commonwealth Department. It's up to him. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside NCD.
Yeah, good evening, Scrooge.
Good evening.
Yeah, bless it. You know, I just called to make a little short input. This conversation about morals and ethics, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's much needed, Scrooge. You surprised me tonight. I didn't know you had it in you, you know, but the thing is, the only thing I deviated with is that, you know, Christian society, correct, but the ethics and morals does not only belong to the Christian faith. We must respect other concepts, God concepts, you know what I mean? Likewise. Yeah. And I was open. I'm kind of sober, you know. I was just hoping that maybe one day they will have a cold case like department. You know what I mean, Squizzy?
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought they would have been relentless and zealous towards solving some of the incidents involving fellow officers.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering why is it that they're not willing to go along that paradigm?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, you know.
That's what we were talking about. We're talking about...
But Squizzy, you and I know the truth. There's a problem with the truth and lies in life.
Yeah.
That's what life is all about. And so, needless to say, if this is an unraveling time, and then so the biblical term will be apocalyptic, right? For people associated with pure havoc and upheaval, but all of that is it, but it's really an unraveling. That's the real meaning of the word, a revealing. Everyone and everything is revealing itself. The earth is revealing itself.
Yes.
People are coming out of the closet.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone. So until we know things, then we will have wrong opinions about people. It's just a basic philosophical concept. Most people hide truths about themselves, and that's what life and politics is all about.
Yes.
Everything is cunning and conniving and you know treacherous and labyrinthic and plausible denied is the order of the day. No one pays. Only the poor man in the ghetto, right?
Pays.
Walking down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And they wouldn't realize that. And so even as I'm vexed about the schism that I see with the little Haitian youths in Abaco, right, Scoozy?
Mm-hmm.
And me and you from the road, right, Scoozy?
Go ahead.
That don't seem threatening to you? Not because me and you not in Abaco, but me and you here. What that sounds like to you, us against them. And then you seeing the little, but no one is talking about it until it's a flame that they cannot team. That 52 is talking about that beyond the pandemic scam paradigms, scientific molecular events, whatever you want to call it. That's what I'm saying is we must realize things that simple people are saying and accept truths for what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having a knowledge apartheid and paying people to do this and say this when it's being said over and over. It's the same thing like if you listen to a politician and you record his whole voice like God for the past 20 years and you listen to all of the foolishness. Some things could come out of their mouths, but if you record them, then you'll realize, you understand, it's just like God keeping a record of our lives then. and he could see from the beginning to the end and the middle, et cetera, et cetera. This is basically what I see people as. And so a lot of people have come to the consensus that if you be a congruent sheep, where you never disagree with anything, and you're not angry about anything, and you don't have a passion for anything, but you just go along with everything, you go along with the party, etc. That's so that's make you a good citizen. And then it's
corruption,
all about
the corruption, you just keep on building.
Yeah, but then what I'm saying is, we must be able to discern. There's a lot of false paradigms being created, sustainable goal development and, getting rid of poverty and all of that. Like a lot of people buying into these things, and they are educated people, and they're promoting this, and people are just not knowing what's going on. The world is unraveling so much different things, even on the geopolitical arena, and there's so much theatrics. It is designed that way. It was designed to give the science behind the pandemic clinical trials 300,000 pages, so no one will actually read all. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
All right. So life is designed, create confusion, and they love the science and all the other legal literature to be esoteric. They love that. See? But a lot of people, when they meet 52, right, Scrooge?
Hey.
They just can't believe you get the dreadlocks on your head, and they like, it is this. I met an officer. She said, "Oh, this is 52 years." She's calling me 62. You see what I'm saying? But it is like people are surprised that I'm just that plain simple. You know what I mean? They just I just called the show to open up minds. Yeah. Most of us really don't want to hear the truth. Most of us believe in blind obedience, and there's something I know you know about operant conditioning. You see? So when we look at Brave New World, right, Squishy, I'm beginning to believe that eventually most of us will begin to love our servitude. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And we still see that, and we can't free our minds, man.
No, because we completely trapped.
Yeah,
we don't understand.
They don't like people like you, when you come out and speak the truth,
hey, mate,
it's a problem, right?
Listen to me. I could care less about them. I don't try to mix. I do my thing as a human being.
But what I'm saying is...
I know.
But
listen,
in this country, right, Fuji,
I know I was one
what
of the
I'm
most...
saying is, like, it's so small, and, like, I sent out 2 posts on my high school chat. It was about it was a police chief in one place in the States, and he was doing a lot of things, man. He was actually in charge of 3 gangs, man. And he was just doing a bunch of foolishness. They had, like, the top 10, and there was a lot of stuff being done. And I just sent that out, and so somebody said, they don't know if it's being facetious, but that doesn't exist here, and it's just being facetious. But I was saying is, it could actually be worse, because I want to say the police chief over here is involved in the gang. What I'm saying is, we talk about the intricacies under him that would exist within the force, all the dubious situation.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, we must be aware, and the public deserves better. So it's like a wolf and sheep clothing scenario. So the situation in Long Island, the BP News said I was a former police officer in Long Island.
Of course.
Be afraid to mention anything.
Hold on.
Why put these news out there in interdiction if we don't never follow up on to the...
That's right. They put in little short flicks. They don't give it to you like the whole 9 yard,
All you see is an officer interdicted.
Yeah, right. But it don't represent the Royal Bahamas Police Force. They have it there, but it ain't
yeah, I know, but that's true. He's a former officer. But in many instances, as me and you grew up, we know former officers went along that paradigm.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
That's why we need a private, independent body that goes after officers who are corrupt in order to keep them on their toes. So,
but the thing is, Squishy, is you have a lot of officers. You have a lot of decent officers.
Man, we know that. We know that.
And but I guess when they join the force and they realize that it's like there's limitations to what they can do and the changes they can make.
Yes, that's right.
But what I'm saying is, you and I have a unique knowledge on the intricacies on the street level and their level, because we know we were in Central, and we know that some officers were cool and some were not.
We used to
some overstepped their grounds.
Yeah, of course.
You understand
what we witnessed?
Some take advantage. But as a matter of fact, in a former officer sent out a post a couple months ago talking, but the truth of what is being, I don't know what was.
Yeah, he put it out there.
Yeah. So you got to respect people, but you know what has happened sometimes.
Yeah. This is
the situation. But Squishy, inside in the city, you have to paint a real picture. Keep painting it.
Yeah, that's what.
And we don't want to ruffle any feathers. But
no, but you're telling the truth,
you have to bring in awareness. But what I'm saying is, with the country, right, Squishy, we can easily be ostracized and intimidated on the streets because, at the low level, anything can happen to you. You don't have any rights. But I noticed they lionize the big time fellas who own the bars and the restaurant. Everyone could come and sit down and eat and just But power is a serious thing. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when we lay down and die, Scrooge, I just try to humanize this. I hope we all be satisfied with the great escape. That's
Yes,
what I call
sir.
death. Give thanks.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much. You did a wonderful job. And, he gave a mouthful just now, and he said, most people don't like persons like me who outspoken. I know a lot of people don't like me on the political front, religious leaders, and a lot of people respect me because why? I truthful. I came from being a wicked young man. You understand? So I ain't no devil no more. If people out there get demons, my job, and there's injustice going on, there's wrong going on in the Royal Bahamas Police Force, going wrong in the parliamentary, going wrong in the church, even going wrong in my life. You want to see I talk with myself in my community? I talk bad with myself too, and that's why I was making changes to my life. You understand? Guardian gave me this show because they wanted the inside stuff. I have knowledgeable experience about the policing system because I've been a top criminal, a top gangster. I've been one of the most wanted men in the country when I had my time on the street, so I know exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about the police and the stations and prison. 100% adequate information, real information. When it comes to Parliament, I've worked with the late great Sir Lyndon Pendant, former Prime Minister Perry Gladstone Christie, and many ministers. I've worked with Neil Ellis. I've worked with the late great Miles Monroe. I worked with Lady Cheryl Wilson. I worked with the late great Bradley Roberts. I have known all the commissioner of police except Greenstead. Greenstead is my cousin, but Greenstead is the only officer besides I know Paul Roll when he's in CID. I know Clayton Fernando when he was in CID. I know Assistant Commissioner of Police B.K. Barnaby. I knew his father. You understand? So when I used to get locked up, all these officers used to be present when I used to get locked up, because I was a high-profile criminal, You understand? So I know these individuals. I know the system. So I'm only speaking on behalf of whatever experience in order to make changes in our system to protect ourselves, from ourselves. And we need organizations in there internally who are part of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. They're not a part of no political party, but even if they're a part of a political party, they put that party aside and understand that it's important that we keep a balance in this country and that we don't let corruption and power ruin the Royal Bahamas Police Force or ruin Parliament or ruin the church. When you put these internal affairs programs, officers knowing, parliamentary knowing that if we do some corrupt stuff, that we ourselves is going to be prosecuted slowly but surely, and we, can also go to jail. This would stop a lot of what's happening in our departments. Why defense force officers everywhere they go, they're toting gun, and they're not allowed to tote firearms. But if you notice recently, defense force officers can catch with illegal firearm. So if they can catch with illegal firearms and they're shooting up the place, so how many guns do you think they're selling to the general public, or how many shots they're selling to the general public? That's why I'm saying that they need to do these internal investigations, because these defense force officers, they can catch with illegal firearm, not firearms that are given to them by the Royal Bahamas Police Force. No, these firearms, probably firearms when they're traveling out to sea, because they're the judge during the execution. And when they search these boats, instead of them bringing these stuff back, they keep these for themselves, you understand, and give to their friends. So that's why we have a lot of guns coming in the country now. So that's why we need to have investigators who check defense force officers out, their income, how they get this money, and etc. Same thing with police officers. You understand? Just like how you all going after 90 and all the drug dealers, you all need to do the same thing for government officials. Because look here, the MPs don't want to disclose. The MPs don't want to disclose. So what you think is going on? If the MPs don't want to disclose, and it's against the law, and they could spend up to 6 months to a year in prison, up to $10,000 fine, and they are not disclosing. They're not disclosing because the letter was sent to the Honorable Prime Minister and to the opposition leader, and they failed to themselves to table it in Parliament so that the matter could be transferred where they either could be prosecuted or fined. And that goes down, it could go to the commissioner, but the commissioner is out of jurisdiction. And like they say, if you read the newspaper, the only persons who can table it in the House of Parliament is the current Prime Minister, the Honorable Brave Davis, and the opposition leader, Michael Pintard. No one else. No one else. But they are breaking the law. It's in the newspaper. They are, the person who have not disclosed, they have already broken the law. But they have yet to be charged or fined. So what do you expect from me? Huh? Me, to see these things, but you go, come at me full force. But yet still we get them who breaking the laws. And then they can use this excuse, but it's their first time and they don't know that you have to disclose. What kind of crap this is? Y'all understand? So, speaking of the truth, I was wrong, well, it's in the newspaper. And I could read between the lines, and people don't even know what this means when they see this in the newspaper. They're breaking the law, and they're getting away with it. And many of them have gotten money from other means, and they're using their position as a senator, they're using their position as a sitting MP to accumulate our funds, and they don't want the public prosecution on the Disclosure Act to go after them. Only the Prime Minister and the opposition leader. Other than that, if they don't step up and make some amendments or some recommendation for these MPs and senators to disclose, do you think the Commissioner of Police is going... See, they breaking the law, right? Can the Commissioner of Police, can Clayton Fernando off his own right now, since this is in the newspaper, this is in the newspaper right now, and it's against the law, and they say it's up to a year that these sitting MPs could be. If the Commissioner of Police is an independent body, why can't he go lock up any one of these senators right now as we speaking right now? Why? They breaking the law. They aren't supposed to disclose. If they didn't disclose at a certain time, they're supposed to pay a fine. None have paid no fine. None are being prosecuted. The Prime Minister has yet to speak, and the opposition has yet to speak on these matters. Why? Because they protecting the system. You think the Prime Minister is going to put those senators before the court? Because he know one day he open a Pandora box. It's like, if he do that, he know that when someone else getting banned, free national movement getting power, hey, they're going to do the same thing. It's like tick for tat. Remember, a warning was given to Menace when he put Shane Gibson and those MP on the PLP's parliamentarians who he advised the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Attorney General. It was Menace, former Prime Minister Menace, who started this persecution. I gave him a thumbs up on that. He did a good job with that. And if you listen to the response of the opposition at the time, they're saying, okay, you're going after uncharted territory. One day it's going to be you. Now you see, he is out, and they get Adrian Gibson before the court. Now the PLP is in power, and who's before the court now? Y'all understand what's going on? So that's us. And only the Prime Minister. And that proves only the Prime Minister has the power. In both of those cases, it was instigated by the Prime Minister. So just like I was saying that only the Prime Minister can give the okay for the Attorney General to give the okay to press charges after the police did the investigation, it's the Prime Minister. And I read it. And I always say this. I respect the Royal Bahamas Police Force. I know some extremely decent officers who I highly respect. But that's not what it is about. It's about the mistreatment I saw when I was in the station all those years that I'm fighting against. Man, you're in the station, and unless you're not being disrespectful to the Royal Bahamas Police Force officers, there should be no way you should be assaulted in the station. You understand? There should be no way that you should be assaulted in the station. You should be protected. And like I say, there are many disrespectful people that are unruly, don't have the discipline, don't have no morals. So when they buck officers, like Paul Road said, remember Paul Road, there was an incident before last Junction where there were police officers using the baton on some young teenagers. And he was putting on their hip and behind. And then, there was an outrage. And then the commissioner of police say, those officers, what we get out of this community. So you have these same individuals with that same mindset, leave from these communities and go be police officers. And then they learn from the senior corps. And they themselves become corrupt of what they have learned. So we need to put a protective barrier in there. You understand? Zoxter would have been living today. You understand? Because if proper investigation on that particular that one officer was involved in some serious, heavy criminal activity on the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and he was a marksman, so the force couldn't let him go. But he was a criminal, and he was a police officer. So if we had an investigation team, they're investigating him. You understand? He wouldn't have been able to do all of those crimes that lead up to the death of Zach and shooting a fellow officer. Could you imagine what other crime he did besides that? And if you listen to the news, you'd see where we have cops themselves involved in illegal activities. So that's all I'm saying. We as citizens can see this, and we only asking for a little justice. We know that it's not going to be even, but we want to know that inspectors can be charged if they break the law. You understand? And prosecuted in a timely fashion. If Mr. Cornish is guilty of a crime and he did rape this young lady, then he should be prosecuted before the courts, even though he's protected. And we want what's right. And again, this lady could be fabricating on the member of parliament just because he's a member, and she could be using a rape allegation as the force something out of the member of parliament. I think that's his ex-girl, and they had problems. So that's tricky, just to tarnish his name. So it could be both ways. But still, like I say, it seems to me that the way she was talking, and this is her word, she said that, he said, you want me to let her the beast. So when we're talking about, I call for action to fight sex crimes, we really need to hold our members of parliament accountable, and it deals with morals. I think everything comes down to getting ahead of the problem, and we have to start with the abuse. As they say, most kids who are abused are likely to become abusers themselves, and that's what we're seeing in this country. We have to do everything we can to, again, invest in the family structure. invest in our children, invest in the schools, invest in the community, and that's my solution to it. I'm Valentino Brown. I'm host of the show Inside the City. I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. The show's about you guys. I just wanted to talk about, things that are invisible, and the Guardian want me to talk about these stuff, because it's the inside stuff, and to make solutions for the problems we face in this country. I'd see you next week on Guardian Radio, 96.9, and our producer tonight in studios is another April. So yeah, it's a lot to think about, and I hope I had a good show tonight and open some ears and eyes in the country. So see you next week on Guardian Radio, 96.9. My boy Maestro.
Big up Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan, bro. Right between West and Augusta, where them two roads meet, they call it Wilkinson Street. Manners and respect was like a sign blank check. It seems the ones that come in after quick to disrespect. You see, this life in the ghetto never easy. So many hungry days break till it grieve me. But I doing the best I can, trying to turn my dollar to 100 grand. I represent the ghetto people I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up in town, bro.